Ben Shapiro wants to claim that Donald Trump getting arrested is a good thing. I guess, um, getting arrested will increase the number of people that want to vote for him, which is funny, especially on the right, when they claim to be all about law and order and how Democrats are releasing so many criminals and letting them walk free when they all should just be in jail. But they're like, oh, well, Trump's a criminal? Let's vote for him.
Well, folks, Donald Trump says that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. We don't know whether that is true or not, but the political impact of a Trump arrest would be absolutely great for Donald Trump, actually. Donald Trump lit the fuse. He lit that rocket. And now we are going to explore whether, in fact, Donald Trump will be arrested tomorrow. So Donald Trump, over the weekend, he announced on Truth Social that he was about to be arrested imminently. He put out a statement that said, quote, "Now illegal leaks from a corrupt and highly political Manhattan district attorney's office, which has allowed new records to be set in violent crime and whose leader is funded by George Soros," so far, all true, "indicate that with no crime..."
Well, that's funny. Ben Shapiro obviously knows what it means when right wingers talk about funding by George Soros. It's a anti-Semitic claim because George Soros is Jewish. Yet Ben Shapiro supposedly hates anti-Semitism, yet will continually support it.
Being able to be proven, and based on an old and fully debunked by numerous other prosecutors fairy tale, the far and away leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States of America will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back. Okay, so he's announcing, we have no other information that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday, but he's announcing that there's a leak that is saying that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. And then he continued by saying Biden wants to pretend he has nothing to do with the Manhattan DA's assault on democracy when, in fact, he has stuffed the DA's office with the Department of Injustice people, including one top DOJ operative from D.C. who's actually running the Horseface witch hunt. Horseface is his name for Stormy Daniels. Bragg is a Soros racist in reverse who is taking his orders from D.C. I beat them twice, doing much better the second time, and despite their disinformation campaign, they don't want to run against Trump or my great records.
Bragg is a Soros reverse racist. So what? He's saying that Bragg is a Jewish person who hates Jewish people? Because that is not the case. This is hilarious. Donald Trump is just doing all he can to try to drum up some hatred, and Ben Shapiro is falling for it.
So his theory, apparently, is that not only is he going to be arrested, the reason he's going to be arrested is so the Democrats can stop him from running. We'll get to the actual political implications of a possible arrest itself, but we have to begin with the information. So Trump is the only person so far, including the DA, who's come out and said that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday. Now, there was speculation late last week that there was a possibility that as a grand jury investigation continues in New York, the possibility of an indictment was growing.
Yeah, so far they're still deciding on if they shouldn't indict him or not, which it shouldn't take too long to actually decide if they should, because they honestly should.
However, there has been no actual leak from the DA's office to the public about the possibility of Trump being arrested, which suggests that somebody from the DA's office must have called Trump and asked him to turn himself in. But even that is sort of up in the air. At this point, we just don't know what we don't know. And as it turns out, there are still witnesses who have to testify before that New York grand jury. So the highest likelihood at this point, just from a pure procedural standpoint, is that Donald Trump heard a rumor from a friend of a friend, and that friend of a friend said, you're going to be arrested on Tuesday, and Trump, not having any sort of filter, just went directly to Truth Social and put that out there.
Or Trump, just being extremely stupid, decided to scream about it because it made him mad.
We have no other corroborative information that he will, in fact, be arrested on Tuesday. Now, that's not to say he won't be arrested. He could certainly be arrested on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the following week, right? Anytime that could happen. And again, Alvin Bragg in New York, the DA there, who is, in fact, Soros elected. He's a person who's funded by George Soros, a very left-wing prosecutor. He's sort of implied that an indictment is on the table for Trump in the near future. But this set the entire world ablaze, obviously, because when the former president of the United States and the current frontrunner in the Republican nominating race announces that he is likely to be arrested by a hardcore Democrat prosecutor in New York over a crime that was allegedly committed back in 2016, and you may have checked your calendar recently, it is now 2023.
Okay, who cares if it's 2023? There are crimes that don't have statutes of limitation. So why does what does 2023 matter? Also, right wingers supposedly care about, law and order and, removing or punishing people who have committed crimes. But because Trump is their special little boy, you can't charge him with anything.
And the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor in the state of New York, on a New York State misdemeanor, is 2 years, which would have ended this thing in 2018. And the statute of limitations on a New York felony is 5 years, which would have ended this thing in 2021. And the only way to extend beyond that statute of limitations is to somehow hook Trump's behavior from 2016 into a federal campaign finance felony. That would be the only theory under which you could do this sort of thing. This starts to look really dicey in the first place. And it also does look politically motivated because we've had too many prosecutors who've come out and they've said that we are going to get Trump, right? We had Letitia James, when she took office as Attorney General of New York, officially say, like in her opening statement, we're going to get Trump. We're going to go.
How's this any different than, Republicans running on their campaign saying if they become governor or president, they're going to investigate all the Democrats for all their crimes and blah, blah, blah. It's targeting political opponents is bad when the Democrats are supposedly doing it against Republicans, and it's good when Republicans do it against Democrats, especially when they're all out in the open about it.
Go after him, which, by the way, is not how you go after crime. The way that you typically go after crime is you find a crime, and then you prosecute the person who committed the crime. You don't find a person you would like to prosecute, and then you figure out which crime they have committed. But
No, prosecutors have found out that Trump has committed crimes, and they're trying to prosecute him for that. It's not, oh, I don't like Trump, so I'm going to throw some bogus charges at him.
it seems like there are a lot of prosecutors out there who've done this. Well, an arrest might counterintuitively be kind of good for President Trump, but you know what's always bad for you? Big tech.
His stupid ads. Let's skip this.
And is an app that anonymizes you, also encrypts.
Come on. Nobody cares about your app. ExpressVPN shouldn't be partnering
Legal
with
experts
this
to
dude.
our financial experts. That's because that's exactly what's happening. A great way to diversify against their bad decision making is to head on over to my friend government hedge against it through an IRA for uncertain.
Oh, yeah.
Just text Ben to
Buy gold from Ben.
98 by using what would be at best dicey behavior. But that two things can be true at once. That dicey behavior can be dicey and also not criminal, as we've seen multiple times in the past. And we'll get to
Let's go
legal
back
predicate for the kind of
a
charge
little
that
bit.
98 today. Now, Trump has opened himself up on a wide variety of scores by using what would be at best dicey behavior. But that two things can be true at once. That dicey behavior can be dicey and also not criminal, as we've seen multiple times in the past. And we'll get to legal predicate for the kind of charge that Alvin Bragg would be trying to bring against Trump.
Okay, so it's dicey trying to intimidate the attorney general or the district attorney by calling for people to protest and take the country back. Yeah, because that's not working out, and that can be considered another charge against him.
And we'll show that that legal predicate really does not exist. There'd be a novel legal theory if carried to fruition. So according to the Associated Press, even as Trump's lawyer and spokesperson said there had been no communication from prosecutors, Trump declared in a post on his social media platform he expects to be taken into custody on Tuesday. Again, this is why I say I think Trump is just kind of speaking off the cuff as per his usual arrangement. I don't think this is a planned statement. I don't think there was a leak directly from the New York DA's office to Trump. It sounds like this went through a process of telephone, and finally Trump got the information that he was going to be arrested on Tuesday, and he put that out there. But as I say, there's still process to take place. Business Insider is reporting that a possible Donald Trump hush money indictment is on hold until a final witness even testifies before a Manhattan grand jury on Monday afternoon. A source with knowledge of the investigation told Insider Saturday night there is at least one more witness. That source spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to divulge details of the grand jury proceedings. Well, if there's still a witness, that means the grand jury has not even voted yet on whether they believe that an indictment would be justified or necessary, which means that it seems weird that Trump, before the grand jury has even decided, would be saying, I'm going to get arrested on Tuesday.
Yeah, because he wants to drum up some anger and some support of him, so when it does happen, he has a crowd of people that are angry enough to want to storm the district attorney's office.
Probably somebody told him the soonest you could be arrested is on Tuesday, and they're already talking about an arrest. The source declined to identify the witness, whose testimony will cap a 2-month grand jury presentation by prosecutors under District Attorney Alvin Bragg. A separate source, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said that the witness is not Alan Weisselberg, that's Trump's former CFO. The star witness for the grand jury so far has been former Trump attorney and fixer Michael Cohen. He expected to be the final grand jury witness when he testified on Monday and Wednesday of last week. Okay, so bottom line is that the Trump's timing may be off. Now, that doesn't undercut the fact that if he is indeed arrested, it's going to be an absolute bombshell in the middle of American politics, the presidential race, and law enforcement generally. Okay, so again, Trump announces that he is likely to be arrested on Tuesday, and then he put out another post saying, quote, "It's time," this is all capital letters, "it's time," 3 exclamation points. "We just can't allow this anymore. They're killing our nation. As we sit back and watch, we must save America. Protest, protest, protest." And this...
We must save America from what? From Trump being arrested for his crimes? It's hilarious how Trump is so desperate to not go to jail that he's going to try to foment another attack on some officials to try to get out of his crimes.
This, of course, led the entire media to immediately jump into, he's going to start another insurrection. It's an insurrection. It's an insurrection. First of all, there's nothing illegal about calling for people to protest. If there were, then the entire Black Lives Matter movement would have never got off the ground in June of 2020. Democrats love...
No, the thing that he's trying to do is use his space to intimidate the Justice Department so that he can, get out of his crimes. That's the issue here. It's not just protesting, but it's him trying to intimidate people.
Protests until they are protests of things that they don't particularly like, at which point it becomes a threat to democracy. Trump saying protest does not mean that he is calling for a violent insurrection against anybody. You know how I know? Because there's an actual crime in the United States called incitement. You can be prosecuted for it. If you say to your neighbor, you should go out and you should commit an act of violence against Bob, and then he goes out and commits an act of violence against Bob, then you will be prosecuted for incitement. It is not incitement to say protest, 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 even in all capital letters, even if it's Donald Trump, even if there are lots of exclamation points. So let's go through a little bit of the actual case here with regard to what's happened. So first of all, Michael Cohen, who would be the chief witness in all of this, and who himself has been, I believe, convicted of perjury. And he lied when he was talking about his taxes and all of this, and
Yeah, and he was also the one to spill the beans about paying Stormy Daniels hush money at the behest of Trump.
pled guilty to campaign finance fraud. As we'll talk about, that has implications for Trump's actual case, because those two cases are one and the same with regard to Stormy Daniels. But he was also convicted for hiding money from the IRS and all the rest. Michael Cohen says Trump isn't doing this because the DA leaked. He's doing this because he's essentially leaking the fact that he's going to be arrested. Okay, whatever. Here's Michael Cohen.
This untruth social post that was put out by Donald, knowing Donald the way that I do, I don't see a reason that Donald would have put out the statement unless he has, or his team have been contacted by the district attorney's office and advised accordingly. It's not Donald to turn around and to come up with something for just because he's bored at Mar-a-Lago, sitting there on a Saturday morning, hey, let's stir this all up. And I'll tell you something else about when I read that post. It's eerily similar to the battle cry that he put out just prior to the January 6th insurrection.
Okay, that sort of stuff is super.
Yep, and that's what the judges are going to consider. Is he trying to do something similar to January 6th? And is Trump dangerous because of that?
Super tiresome. Super tiresome. And the reason that it's super tiresome, of course, is because saying that you want people to protest is not the same thing as saying that you want them to commit acts of violence. I will say, every time I hear Michael Cohen, I can't help but think of the Donald Trump tweet, maybe my favorite Donald Trump tweet of all time. And there's a long list. I mean, Donald Trump's Twitter feed is just lit. But Donald Trump, August 22nd, 2018, quote, "If anyone is looking for a good lawyer, I would strongly suggest you don't retain the services of Michael Cohen."
Right, except that only happened after Michael Cohen got in trouble for campaign finance fraud. Before that, Trump was saying he was a good guy. Why would Trump hire this person if you didn't like him to begin with. It's hilarious.
One of my favorite tweets of all time. Of course, Donald Trump has a habit of not hiring the best people. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show.
Yeah, Trump doesn't have the reputation of hiring good people, and the people that do get in trouble, he then tries to distance himself from and act like he never knew these people, even though he's been paying these people to work for him. It's hilarious.